Hi, party people. I think I said that last time. That's kind of weird. Sorry. So, we're just getting ready to start up our second live Q&A session and just kind of overview if people have any questions or anything. Hold on. Super glad that I'm going to forever post this on my Teachable course for everyone to see me get up and yell at my kids to be quiet. Yeah, super awesome. Okay, so, like I said, this is just kind of a touch base with people that are in the group that is happening right now. The Teachable course is coming along really nicely, which means that when you're done with this class, all of the info that we've discussed, the handouts, the lectures, and I'm going to fancy them up a little bit, the lectures and the recipes, there'll probably be an entire new section on the 5R like gut healing protocol. Some other cool handouts, some little videos. I'll just keep adding to it as we go, and since you guys are in the inaugural group, you'll get all those sweet bonuses. So congratulations for that. So we are going to basically just talk a little bit today about some like specialized diets that have been shown to assist the microbiome and to really restore gut. And there's lots of different gut healing diets. I'll send you guys a handout that's going to have a really cool breakdown of them. That was done by one of my professors and the author of that digestive wellness book that I reference a lot in my presentations and things like that because it's genius. But each one of these like specialized diets has a specialized purpose, and there's no one right diet for everyone. And so part of my job as a clinical and certified nutritionist is to suss out what is the best fit for each person and to alter those specific diets to fit their lifestyles, their needs, their potential underlying core imbalance, allergies, all those things. But it can be good to have a basic understanding of what they all are. So for example, the specific carbohydrate diet is one of those ones that kind of addresses a dysbiosis of the way the body is processing certain types of carbohydrates. So for example, on that diet, there is a frozen screen. There is no like grains allowed of any kind. There is only specific kinds of like carbohydrates. Duh, because that's what the diet's called, specific carbohydrate diet. My super sweet notes that I made, 110% froze. So I'll have to pull those up again. Another one that I'll talk about when I talk about the gut health and like the 5R rebuilding is an elimination diet. And there is a lot of different kinds of elimination diets, like a lot of them. And so you pick your elimination based on the level of health concerns and the significance of your goals. And so, for example, if someone is really struggling with their health and their gut health and they have not been able to figure out this core imbalance, a comprehensive elimination diet where we take out all of the allergens or suspected potential allergens, which really reduces significantly the types of foods you can eat. It's super broken. I busted it. I want to open. I'm begging you. There we go. Okay. Um, so, elimination diet. So, my family and I, we do an elimination diet every summer, and we use it as part of gut healing and restoring protocol just for our family. I have some kiddos with some, I would say, intolerances that used to be pretty much allergies, but as we've healed their gut and as we've restored their microbiome, they're not very symptomatic. But it kind of builds up as the school year goes through, and they continue to get exposed and start to have inflammation and start to have more reactions. So what we do in the summer is we do a 2-week close to comprehensive elimination diet as a family. I always post about it on Facebook. It's really not as hard as you would think, and it trains you to eat a lot of foods that are really healthful and nutrient dense that you just haven't practiced doing, so you don't do them. There's specific types of fats and oils. There's no dairy allowed. Usually dairy and gluten are the two biggest ones that we take out when we're looking to give the body a rest. So you can just do like a gluten and casein free elimination diet, and people often find that their bodies can, once you've reduced that inflammation and that inflammatory response and exposure from those foods, even if they don't have allergies to them, then you kind of have a chance to have this reset in this strategic 5R kind of protocol. As far as the elimination diet goes, I'll send you guys kind of a sample handout of what that looks like. But that's usually a beginning step of healing your gut and getting things underway. You want to remove things that are triggers. You want to remove the things that are feeding the bad bacteria, like those simple carbohydrates, like those simple sugars that don't really have any other nutritional benefit besides they're feeding the bad bugs and kind of messing with our insulin response systems. So that removal stage is really critical. All of these diets that I'm talking about today are just that. They're temporary diets. They're not necessarily lifestyles. I know people that eat low FODMAP. That's another type of diet you can look up if you have like irritable bowel syndrome or something like that and you're not sure of what your triggers are. Often people eating a low FODMAP diet, and the FODMAP stands for different types of saccharides, fructo-oligo something methyl polyacid, I don't know. Anyways, that's pretty interesting. But and so you take the lactose, you take a lot of these sugars, these types of easily kind of fermentable food, like types of nutrients, and the body gets a big break and IBS symptoms can diminish. There's a great app called Monash, Monash, from the university, Monash University, and you can actually check the level of FODMAPs in different foods, and then you could also watch your kind of tolerance level. So with anyone that struggles with whether it's a histamine intolerance or sulfur intolerance or even like lactose or gluten or something like that, you have a certain amount of give. And so that's what I really work with my clients with is to increase this give, this resilience, so that you can have exposures and you're not going to tip the bucket because it's not so full already. And so that's an example of like the FODMAP is, in my opinion, something that would be a temporary solution while you work on gut healing, reduce the burden on the body, figure out why it's not digesting right. Is it microbiome? Is it digestive enzymes? It's probably a combination of both. Healing the gut lining is always crucial. Another one that I talked about in the lecture is the GAPS diet, and that is the gut and psychology syndrome diet. That is a really, really intensive diet that focuses on complete removal of just about all foods in the first stages, and you just do nutrient-dense broths, a tiny bit of fermented foods, maybe I think it might be in stage 2, really overcooked, low residue meats or vegetables, and then really, really cooked meats, like of course grass-fed and all those things. And then some homemade yogurts and things like that to really just completely reset this root of our health in the gut. And that's a very intensive diet, but there have been a lot of anecdotal, kind of no good trial research on it, but a lot of anecdotal information that people are, especially children that struggle with autism and severe health concerns, are seeing a significant benefit. So I have another really good handout I'll post up here for you guys. It's kind of a combination between an SCD and the FODMAP diet, so the specific carbohydrate in the FODMAP. And most of my clients are really struggling with digesting more of these like starchy carbs. So like beans and legumes and things like that cause them GI upset. Or they're having GI upset and they don't know what it is. And so using a combination of those two as a potential elimination phase can be really therapeutic for people as well. So I have a really great questionnaire also for you guys. That's just another diagnostic tool for you guys to kind of help yourself understand maybe a little bit more what's going on in your body. And these are all things that I do in my office on a daily basis with people, and it's just go through different body systems and kind of understand what's going on. Usually when I hear people's story, I can pinpoint an imbalance in this core area, but it's kind of interesting for you guys if you want to look at it. You feel free to. I'll post it up under the links. It's also from that book by Liz Lipsky, who is my professor in grad school. I didn't see any questions posted for today, so I'll just keep rambling on unless somebody gets on and has a question. So what's really at the core of all of these diets that are known to are supposed to help the microbiome? I didn't really get into like a microbiome diet itself. These are all kind of diets that are trying to remake the gut to support good digestion, which supports good microbiome health and all of those things. But really at the core of them is whole foods. So like we talked about last week with prebiotics versus probiotics and fermented foods, with all those things, if you're eating a whole foods diet, if you're eating fruits and vegetables that came in their whole form and you had to cut them up or do something to prepare them, or just pop them and rinse them and pop them in your mouth if it's like a cherry tomato or something, all of those foods are nourishing your gut. If you've gone long enough with an imbalance, with a dysbiosis or a certain health concern, there can be those healthy foods that are causing GI distress. They're causing a worsening in that microbiome. And so that's when people have a hard time kind of wrapping their heads around the idea of these kind of elimination diets, or these, diets that remove foods even though they're healthful. So for example, I have several clients that have sulfur intolerances, and they had no idea they did. They just knew they felt kind of miserable, and they were having gut issues and didn't know what their triggers were, and we kind of narrowed it down, understood their other symptoms that seemed unrelated to them, and we figured out this sulfur intolerance. Onions, garlic, broccoli, these are all foods that are high in sulfur. There's incredible nutritional benefits to these high sulfur foods, but if the body is not processing them correctly, that is where the problem lies. We're adding to the problem when there's a higher up issue going on. So just throwing at someone, fermented foods, or all of these things that are like a green juice, like juicing. I have talked to so many people that have done juicing and have felt completely and totally miserable. And they did not, it wasn't from detoxing or sugar cravings or whatever. They just felt really, truly terrible. And sometimes if the body has a problem upstream in whether it's digestion, whether it's a genetic predisposition, as in the case for several of my sulfur people, which is they've got this transsulfuration pathway genetic mutation that means their body needs more molybdenum, it needs more zinc, it needs more selenium, or something like that to keep this cycle going. Otherwise, we throw the onion into this mix, and as opposed to, turning it into all this great, things that our body needs for anti-inflammatories and for, healthy levels of sulfur in the body, it turns it into this kind of caustic substance that causes histamine overload and all of these other health concerns. So it's really about being targeted and strategic. So this class is about fermented foods, increasing your microbiome health by understanding what feeds good bugs and what feeds bad bugs, learning how to make fermented foods, which is huge. It's going to be beneficial for you even if, you're at a stage right now where you're just doing little teeny tiny tastes to kind of gauge how your body reacts. But I just want to warn everyone that it doesn't mean you go out and you eat your whole jar of sauerkraut. It means that this is part of a whole foods, more traditional lifestyle. Like we said before, people that eat more traditional foods, they've soaked their grains, they've, cured their meats or whatever else it is. They've, preserved their fruits and vegetables in these type of ferments and those kind of things. They have over 50% greater microbial diversity than we do, when we know from all of your lectures that I'm sure you've watched by now, that diversity is the indicator of our health and how well we are, how resilient against, pathogens we are, how our ability to fight off disease, both chronic and, non-communicable and also pathogenic, like bugs, bad bugs. So, I'll be posting that 5R lecture for you guys as a total bonus. I hadn't planned on doing it at all, but then I got super inspired by our talk last week, and I just felt like I was only giving you a piece of the puzzle with the microbiome. It's a really, really important piece, and it's totally worth this entire class to understand, especially next couple weeks when we get into the gut-brain connection and pain and inflammation, and how supporting good diversity in your gut, and we'll talk about skin and exposures and all those things next week is one of my favorites, and it's about, how do we address environmentally destroying the microbiome, and I could talk for hours on that, and I probably will, so sorry in advance. But this is a big piece of the puzzle, but it is just a piece. Throwing in fermented foods and still continuing to, eat fast food every day, it's going to mediate the response, like I talked about on the weight loss one, where they overfed the mice 1,000 calories a day and then gave them probiotics, and compared to the control group that didn't have the probiotics, they gained way less weight. So absolutely, throw those probiotics, throw those fermented foods into the mix. But keep in mind that if we're looking at the whole picture of gut restoration, the microbiome is a piece. It's a critical piece. And I think it's a piece that's often lacking for people when they do any kind of, protocol elimination diet. They try to eat really clean or whatever else it is. It's one of those things that, we need to address in order to really get over that hump and achieve health and wellness. But it is just a piece of the puzzle. So, all right. I don't see any questions from anybody. We'll have a little shorter video today, mostly because I have some sweet handouts for you, and there's no reason for me to just read them. You can look over them. And, I'll try to get cracking on that 5R lecture handout, which will have some practical ideas for gut restoration and how to understand where in the puzzle you need to start, right? You'll have this great handout with different diets, what their goals are, and exactly what the outline of them is, what foods they allow and what foods they don't allow, as well as that digestive health questionnaire, which is a part of that book, which I'll post a link for the book as well, because if anyone's really looking to kind of DIY your gut health or your digestive health, this is a fantastic resource written by my mentor, one of my mentors and my professors from grad school. She travels around the world talking about her amazing stuff that she's put together. So, all right. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. I really hope you've started your sauerkraut last week. It should be ready by now or getting close to that. Let us know how it's tasting. Post pictures in the comments of what you're fermenting in your kitchen. Salsa was this week, and it was, oh my gosh, we went through ours so fast. I wish it was still there. So I'd love to see pictures of your salsa or any changes you've made to it, or successes or failures or anything like that would be great. And then next week we'll do our really easy week. I'm giving you the week off next week. It's fermented mayonnaise and ketchup, which is super easy and a big crowd pleaser for those little kids or husbands or yourself that are struggling with the sauerkraut. So we leapt, we took that leap of faith, and now I'll give you a break with the ketchup and all that jazz. So, and then on to yogurt, and that'll be a wrap. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, see you soon.